Welcome to Racing Girls Rock podcast, presented by the Women's Motorsports Network. I'm Melinda Russell, the founder and CEO. I also founded the International Women's Motorsports Association and the Women's Motorsports Network News online magazine. Today's episode is brought to you by our official travel planner, Brittany Heisinger. Brittany specializes in Disney trips, but can book any trip, anywhere you want to go, from Hawaii to Houston, Alaska to Australia, or anywhere in between. Last year, she helped over 100 families plan magical vacations to Universal Studios, Disneyland and Disney World, Mount Rushmore, Las Vegas, Cabo, Hawaii, Aruba, and Iceland, to name a few. In just her first year since joining the Smart Moms Travel Group, she's won the Rising Star Award, the Top Paid Agent Award, and won a rewards trip. She hit her sales goal, joined Team Fantasyland at her agency, became a Walt Disney World pass holder and Magic Key holder, and more importantly, has made lifelong friends. You can connect to Brittany on Instagram at Travel with Zing or give her a call at 602-291-5144. Check out the show notes for more information and tell her Melinda sent you. And now it's time for this week's show. Hello, everyone. This is Melinda Russell with Racing Girls Rock podcast. And my guest today is Heather MacDonald. Heather and I have been trying to get together, and busy schedules, it's that time of year, isn't it, Heather, where we all have so much going on. But we're finally able to connect today, and so I want to welcome Heather to the show. And Heather, would you start by just telling us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, well, thanks for having me on. It was just kind of one of those deals where things come up, and that's okay too. So a little bit about myself. I'm from Devils Lake, North Dakota, and I was actually in the automotive industry. I sold cars for a number of years. I have two little girls from my first marriage. My oldest, Aubrey, is 12. She'll be 13 this September, and my youngest is 10. And they love the dirt track, but they are most definitely girly girls. They dance and they skate all winter long, and all in the fall and in the spring, and that keeps us busy in the off season. And sometimes those seasons collide with race season, so then life gets even more hectic. So when school got out and all their extracurriculars were out, I thought, no, we're gonna limit what we do extra this summer, and we're just gonna enjoy being a family at the racetrack. So I had a number of years ago, probably 8 years ago, it was Devil's Run weekend in Devil's Lake. I had never been to a dirt race ever. I actually thought that I wouldn't be interested in racing. I kind of thought it was dumb. And a friend convinced me, hey, let's go to the race. Let's go to the races. They're running sprint cars tonight, And we came out to, ironically, the Devil's Lake Speedway, and we watched a sprint car race, and I was like, wow, this is really cool. And then months went by, and I actually briefly dated a pitman for a sprint car team. And so he took me to a World of Outlaw show, and I was hooked. Things didn't work out, and I vowed up and down that I would never date anybody in the racing world ever again. And I was still a fan of racing, but a few months later, my other half, Nolan Olmsted, walked into my life, and he was pretty persistent. And I swore up and down. I was like, nope, I don't like this guy. Nope. Well, he was persistent, and he was very patient, because I vowed up and down that I was done. I wasn't interested in getting in a relationship, and he grew on me, and we've been together ever since. And when we first started seeing each other, I was like, I'm not helping you at the racetrack. I want nothing to do with this. Well, he needed a bartender in the bar. There's a bar that overlooks corner 4 of the racetrack, and before I knew it, I was bartending, and then I was in the beer gardens, and then a new scoring system came into play, and he's like, hey, can you go to training and learn this just in case we ever need you up there? Well, one thing led to another. Somebody got mad and quit, and I've been in the scoring tower ever since. And I've just kind of progressively taken on more roles. And Nolan's been racing 29 years. And he's won a lot of track championships. He's won the NOPA points championship back when NOSA was a thing in our area. So he's got over 90 wins in his career, and he's been running the Devil's Lake Speedway for 11 years, and then he ran the Greenbush Race Park in Minnesota for 5 years. So he's been running racetracks for about 16 years, and I think I'm on year 8. I've kind of lost count of how long I've been here now, but the racetrack is in Doyen, North Dakota, or Prairie, North Dakota, which is about 16 miles from my hometown. So it's kind of cool to still be in my hometown and raise my kids kind of in the area. So
that's a pretty cool story, and the fact that he was so persistent and patient, that's kind of not necessarily traits that you would think of in a man, or even especially a race car driver, because they tend to be a little bit more aggressive and not patient. And so that says a lot about him. So he runs the racetrack. Does he still race as well, or he just runs the track?
We still have 3 race cars. When we get time, he'll run a little wingless. It took until last year, and he finally had his first rollover, and so it took him a while to heal from that. He did get in the car one time after that, and we're actually in the testing phase with a motor package for that class, so we'll see how that goes. In 2021, we went down to Arizona and raced the A-Mod with at the Wild West Shootout. Did not have good luck. I'm starting to think that it's an omen. Like, the first time anybody from up north goes down there, I'm starting to think that it's like a bad omen, and you just get bad luck the first time. So I think, our new motor's actually in Winnipeg, Canada right now, and with all the border closures and all that, it's been stranded in Canada for 3 years. Yeah. So I'm hoping sometime this summer we can get some free time and buzz up there and get it.
So you went to the Wild West Shootout, and I was actually there. Isn't that funny?
It is. Because I actually ran into a ton of people from my home area, and people that I've known from other organizations not related to racing down there. So it was kind of fun. I was walking through behind the grandstands over kind of where they had the beer gardens and stuff. I was sitting there talking to some locals that were also down there racing, and I seen somebody walking up, and he's like, "Oh, are you guys from?" He was talking to everybody else, like, "Oh, are you guys from North Dakota?" And I look at him, and I ripped his sunglasses off his head, and I was like, "What the hell are you doing here?" He's from my hometown, and he actually works periodically for the elevator next door to our house. So it was kind of a funny deal. He goes, "Well, I just moved my mom down here." So
that's interesting. Yeah, we stay in Arizona in the winter, and we actually went to that race in 2021. So that's funny. We were both there for sure.
Yeah.
So
the rumor is they are moving it. They're building a dirt track over by Chandler.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of the rumor that I heard, and so it'll be back there. Not this 2024. So
Yeah.
that's tentatively the plan right now. We'll see what happens. We'll
Right.
see what the bank account looks like.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's and the gas prices, right? Because
Yeah.
that's the thing now that everybody's watching for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you kind of slowly tiptoed into the racing arena, and now you're full into it. So what all do you do now? I know you said scoring. What else do you do? What's your job at the track?
Yeah, I kind of do a lot of the PR stuff. Sometimes I have to be human resources, the human resource officer. I do a lot of the administrative stuff. Whatever needs to be done is kind of what I do, I guess.
Okay. What's your
I
favorite
try
thing to
not to get
do?
into a lot of the maintenance stuff for that because that's just really not in my wheelhouse.
Yeah. So what's your favorite thing to do there?
I really just like to interact with just the whole racing community as a whole. If I could get away and do more things with the fans and with the drivers, I would love to do that. But there's just not enough people stepping up to the plate to do a lot of positions. So
Yeah.
I've been really stuck in the scoring department for a few years, and I don't mind it normally. So
Yeah. So it's a dirt track, am I right?
yes,
Okay, and how big of a track is it?
we are 1/3 mile.
Okay. So it's a small track.
Yep, we're a small little bull ring.
Yeah, sounds fun. And what classes of cars do you run at your track?
We run everything from pure stocks to Wissota street stocks, Wissota Midwest mods. We'll have a few late model shows
Mhm.
throughout the year with NLRA. We a couple years ago we brought in the Western Renegade non-wing sprint, and that's been growing like wildfire. Um, and then we'll host the Mid-Dakota Lightning Sprints from time to time. Maybe a NOSA Law Sprints show here and there. We've done Legends in the past. We've done AMOD specials in the past. And then this year, actually, the super trucks from Winnipeg are gonna make a swing down here. So I'm actually pretty excited for that August show.
Yeah, that's going to be a great show. I've seen them, and they're pretty fun to watch for sure.
Yeah, I've never seen the super truck, so I'm excited.
Yeah, that's going to be a good show for sure. So, as a PR promoter, that kind of thing for your track, besides being the scorer, what are some of the events that you do that, would be maybe a little more unusual that other tracks might get some inspiration from? What are some of your bigger events?
Well, our Golden Hammer Classic, which is our Midwest Mod special, and the Walhalla Building Center up in Walhalla is actually the title sponsor for that event. And when they came to us many years ago and wanted to do this big special, we were on board, and they said, come up with a name for it. And I'm like, what are we going to name it? And, I just sat and thought about it for about 20 minutes, and I thought, how about the Golden Hammer? And,
Great name.
And so what's cool about that event is they will line them up for their heats according to their pill draw, and then we'll invert it. And so they'll run 2 heats, and we'll make up their feature lineup by their passing points. So if you draw really good at first, you don't get any passing points. But then if you invert it, then they start in the back, and that gives them the opportunity. So it can get really dicey. It's a lot of fun. We just use like a go-kart format for that race, and a lot of racers came out of go-karts, so it's kind of fun for them because it's like driving a big kid car,
right,
with the old go with the little kid format. So I mean, it gives a little extra racing for the fans to watch. And then so that event turned into having a late model show with NLRA. So the Valhalla Building Center now has two events called the Golden Hammer. One's the Golden Hammer Challenge and one's the Golden Hammer Classic.
Okay. All right. So they're one of your better sponsors then if they're doing a couple races with you.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
They're great people, and they sponsor a lot of drivers, and they're just very all in on racing, and they are tremendous support for us. Sometimes they're more of a sounding wall than we've gotten to be very good friends with them, and they're small business owners just like we are, and
right,
they get it.
Yeah.
It's they get the ups and downs of business.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially where you're so weather dependent, that makes it hard too.
Yeah,
that's true of all tracks.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of rain here in the Midwest since racing started, and there's been a lot of nights of racing, beautiful during the week, and then Friday, Saturday hit, and then there comes the rain. So it's been kind of a pattern. Yeah, I know you have.
Yeah. We were actually supposed to start towards the end of April. We usually, some years it doesn't happen, and some years, it's 70 degrees in March. So, you just don't, when you're doing your schedule in the winter, you just don't know what the weather's going to look like. So it's easier to cancel it than it is to try and put it on.
Yeah.
But our first race of the year, we actually had a blizzard, like a week-long blizzard.
Oh gosh.
It's not unheard of up here in North Dakota, but it's not normal.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a good blizzard, I will say that. The kids didn't have school for almost a week. So
wow. Yeah, so that racing got canceled real quick. That should have turned into the snowball derby too.
Right. Yeah, if we could see to get to the racetrack.
Right. Yeah.
But it dumped a lot of snow, and so that really put all of us behind the eight ball, and then it rained, and it rained, and it rained, and it rained.
Uh-huh.
So right now, all of our local farmers they're just full throttle in the tractor, trying to get that crop in. So our car counts have been a little light the last couple weeks. More than a little light. They've been a lot light, but I would say probably 85 to 90% of our drivers are in the agricultural field. So
okay,
we get it.
Yeah.
We get it. Some fans probably don't get it quite so much, but it was like I told the driver on Saturday, I said it's a pain of discipline versus a pain of regret situation. And I said if they don't get that crop in, they're not getting paid this fall.
Nope, and there won't be any racing money.
No.
Yeah.
They can't race if they don't have any money.
No, that's right. So that's interesting that it's a lot of agricultural people that drive the cars. That's because I don't hear that a lot. So that's kind of different. So do you have very many women that are racing at your track?
We've had a few over the years. Right now, currently, there's a couple girls in the Midcoda Lightning Sprints, Kelsey Peterson and Kate Taves. And I have a female pure stock driver, Makara Johansson. And it kind of changes. You'll have a girl, we'll have a couple girls for a while, and then it'll kind of peter out. They'll hit the next stage in life. Well, we have Braden Pengili. She hasn't been in a car for a couple years. She still wants to race, but it was kind of a funny situation. She had a baby the week before, and then she thought she was coming to race the next week, and I had to tell their Amanda, the race director, I said, I don't think this is a good idea. I was like, her body needs to heal.
Yeah,
And she
absolutely.
agreed. Amanda and I are both moms, and we kind of understand, like our bodies have to heal, and
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
so we
Yeah,
we,
so
we kind
that,
of grounded her. We kind of grounded her. I don't think she was too happy at first, but I think she understood.
yeah. And it's interesting. So, I talk to a lot of women, and they juggle so many things that men don't do. And that's one of them, A man, his wife has a baby, he's at the track that day. But the women have to get that baby started with a good life and get themselves back, feeling good and everything. And so that's just another one of the things that women juggle in racing, if they're racing or want to race, that men don't. So that's interesting that you brought that up, because I don't hear that a lot, because I talk to a lot of women that are either not having kids yet or have already had their kids. But um, you know it is something that, when you think about what women do, they work. Most of them are going to work. They raise a family. They're running a home. They're having babies. They're doing all those things, and it's a big. It's a lot to juggle, and a lot to make sure that everything goes well. So it's kind of finding the balance in your
Yeah.
life. So, and you have the same issues, you have a lot going on. What would you say, how do you find balance between racetrack and family?
Um, we bring the kids to the racetrack a lot.
Yeah.
Um, there are days where I don't want to go to the racetrack. I want to be at home. Well, now that my kids are older and they can kind of fend for themselves a little bit, and we only live like a mile from the racetrack, so it's not a
Yeah.
big deal to kind of buzz home and check on them every couple hours, and
Right.
they can feed themselves, they can bathe themselves, and I kind
Yeah.
of give them. I try to give them a list of chores to do. Whether they do it or not is kind of
Yeah.
another situation. But yeah, no, it's like this week my kids are with my ex-husband, and and he called me. He goes, well, I assume that they're going to want to come to the racetrack on Saturday, and he's like, is that fine? And I said, yes, that's fine. My 12-year-old for the last 2 years has been operating the scoring board, and
Oh.
in that and in she's getting the hang of it. It's hard to keep a 10, 11, 12-year-old kind of on track that long.
Right, focused.
Um, so she's done it the last couple weeks, and she's done a great job. And I think she gets a little frustrated with me because there are some nights I'm doing two scoring positions, so I don't have time to check on her, or
Yeah.
I'll look over. No, that's not the right amount of laps, or
Yeah.
something like that. But she's definitely getting the hang of it, and she enjoys that position. And she's kind of, well, she wants to start putting the numbers on the lap board, and I'm like, I can't even do that. Like
Yeah.
I don't have the I'm not coordinated enough to do it. So
Yeah.
for me to teach her how to do it, I'm like, no, barking
But
up the
that's
wrong
good
tree.
that it's good that she wants to have a job, because then she feels like she's being useful. And even if she's not interested in being a race car driver, she's still involved with the family at the racetrack. And at 12 years old, she's going to pick things up that you and I would take a lot longer. And so that's pretty cool that she wants to do that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so we did give go-karts a try.
Okay.
Was that 2 years ago? And my daughter has anxiety issues, and so having that motor right next to her head, that was
Yeah.
a no-go, because when kids with anxiety don't like loud noises, which is kind of
No.
ironic because it's loud at our house and at work all
Yeah.
the time. So
But that's a different level of loud compared to
yeah,
a motor next to your head.
yeah.
Yeah.
So she no, that did not go. And then we tried to put my younger daughter in it, and well, she wasn't tall enough for that particular go kart to give it a try. And
Okay.
in hindsight, I am I'm a little relieved that my kids didn't take to that. Just because we don't have a go-kart track in Devil's Lake. We want to start a go-kart track in Devil's Lake. But it takes a lot of people interested, and I don't know if we have the interest. If we have the interest, maybe we'll move forward with that. Because that is the next generation of racing.
Right.
But now at our track, we allow 12-year-olds to start racing.
Okay.
And now that I have kids old enough to get into a race car, we've looked at the go-kart situation, and it was kind of funny. I was talking to my 12-year-old, and because somebody had asked, "Were you ever gonna race?" And she goes, "I don't know." And I said, "I would feel comfortable with you in a full body car. If you want." Yeah. She wanted to race pure stocks. She's gonna have to go out and raise some of the money herself to run.
Yeah.
And no one would get her going, but I definitely would feel more comfortable with her in a full body car with a roll cage.
Yep.
Point harness, versus something that has no cage on it. So
I agree, and I see these little kids running these carts, and they roll and they whatever, and it's like, I mean, they're safe, obviously, because these kids, you don't hardly ever see a kid get hurt in them.
Kids bounce well.
They do, but I'm with you. What, my granddaughters raced quarter midgets, and my one granddaughter always hung her arm out over the door, and I was like, "You're gonna get your arm broke," but it was just a habit because she leaned when she was driving, and then she, I felt a lot better when she went to like a front wheel drive car, and it was like so much stronger, and the car was heavier, and that. So but those kids, they don't have the fear, and they love doing it, and that there's thousands and thousands of kids racing carts all over the place. So pretty interesting. And then so
I have a former employee that's like, kids don't belong in race cars, and then we were watching Bristol last year, and was as 13-year-old won in the 602 late models, and I kind of laughed because that kid drove so smooth, and I said, no, this kid's been in a full body car for a while.
Oh yeah.
You could just tell. And I said, yes, he has natural talent, but I said he also has developed a skill, and you develop that skill when you've been in a seat. And so I kind of chuckled a little bit. I was just like,
Yeah. So there's a young.
I kind of understood where he was coming from, because he's in the insurance industry. Well, I hold an insurance license, and I'm like, if they were going to cover it, go for it.
Exactly. There's a young man from Portage, Michigan, right here that's now racing in the truck series, NASCAR truck series, and he started in quarter midgets, and he was very successful. Has many national championships and that, and moved up to racing a big car at a young age, and now he's 18, 19. He might be 19 years old now, and he's racing in the NASCAR truck series. And you look at those kids, they are kids that are racing in NASCAR. The number of them that are 25 or under is pretty big, and it seems like the younger they're getting younger and younger all the time in the bigger series.
Yeah, and we actually have two drivers. Well, a former driver, in the ARCA series right now.
Oh, okay. Who's that?
So, Amber Balkan.
Oh yeah, I know Amber.
So her dad, Mike, has raced at our track for many years. My other half, Nolan, actually used to go up to Winnipeg and race all the time, and she was just a little squirt, and she'd come every week into his pit and get a hero card, and she was in go-karts, and then she was in lightning sprints. So I think she's been here maybe a couple times with the lightning sprint, but she was probably here quite a bit with dad in the late model.
Yeah.
And then Bryce Hugaberg, he's actually he's still racing with the Midcoda Lightning Sprints. He won't be here this weekend because I guess he's going to race ARCA, which I get it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that not those doors don't open for
Right.
everybody. So when
Right.
the door opens, you just got to run through it.
Exactly. Exactly. You have to be flexible and be able to go do that for sure. Yeah. So the thing you love, what I ask you what you love the most about it, and you said you'd like to do more with the people, but what's been your obstacles? Well, that was what you love the most. What's been the hard part about working at the racetrack?
Ooh, just there can be a lot of conflict in racing. The one that really sticks out for me, we actually had to ban a couple drivers, and that was really hard. We had a driver that just, he was very dominant on the track, but he tried to control how we ran the racetrack. And and then he had a friend that also tried to control how we ran the racetrack. That's it. It got to the point where we had to put our foot down. And he actually threw his points championship trophy in a bonfire one night after the races. And then he ended up attacking my other half. And at that point, it was, nope, you're done.
Time to go.
Yeah. And he actually called law enforcement and said my other half attacked him, but yet my other half was on the ground, kind of dodging the punches.
Yeah.
He knew enough to not fight back. He was the grown up in the situation.
Right.
And, and I was already at home. I needed to do some traveling for a service organization I belong to. So I went home, packed, because I was going to get up early the next morning and take off to go to our state convention. And, he came home and he flipped the light on in the bedroom and he's like, I'm so mad. And, he's telling me what's going on. And I kind of had a gut feeling that something wasn't right at the track. And I was actually in the process of getting out of bed, put my clothes on, going over there, but I didn't have to. He beat me.
Yeah. It's really sad because your track's not the only one that has those issues,
No.
And some tracks are kind of known for that kind of behavior more so than others. I think the management, once they put their foot down and other people see that that's not going to fly. Whereas, other tracks kind of let it go depending on who you are, that kind of thing. And so it's a shame though, because there's so many people watching, little kids and whatever, and it's really sad that we have to put up with that kind of behavior when this is supposed to be a fun family activity.
Yeah.
And then it only takes one or two to ruin that for a lot of people. So I hate that you had to go through that, but that's part of, owning and running a track, unfortunately.
Yeah, it definitely comes with the territory. And
it does.
And there was a lot of behind the scenes, like behind our back stuff that kind of went on after the fact, trying to get back at us. And I just kind of thought, and thankfully we had really good sponsors, and we had, and people really came out of the woodwork and said, no, like, we've got your back. And he tried to put on a race at a competing track, and he's throwing money at him and he's paying entry fees. And I just thought,
no,
really? Like,
you can't do that forever. Yeah. And you can't do that forever.
No. And I just thought, that's so juvenile.
Yeah.
But, we kind of had put kind of a kibosh to the, there seems to always be behind the scenes, somebody's always trying to stir a pot or, go against, a track promoter. And it doesn't matter which racetrack it is. I see it at all the tracks, and I kind of hear about it. And I always think it's kind of funny because it's always the same people, and it's just like, eventually they get found out.
Oh yeah.
And and I've always, I always sometimes have to remind, like my employees, because like my employees hear about it and they get a little upset about it. And I said, no, I said, take the high road. Don't worry about it.
Right.
Eventually, they inadvertently expose themselves, and they're the ones with egg on their face.
Yeah. It comes out to, in the end, people see through a lot of that. So yeah, for sure. But it is part of racing, unfortunately, and drama, is, I mean, it's from the little tiny kids, more so those parents, but it starts at, the younger track and it goes all the way through the professionals, and that's just part of it. And I think that's the draw for some people is that kind of thing. And so,
some people love it and some people hate it. And, I've gotten, like I tell a lot of my staff, just double down on the personal development today and just don't worry about it.
Absolutely.
Worry about what you can control. Don't worry about what you can't control.
That's right. Because you're wasting a lot of time if you're worrying about things that are out of your control. For
Absolutely.
Sure. So what's your schedule look like this summer? Is there anything you want to promote about what's coming up at your track, or things let people know, again, where you are, how to find your schedule? What are some big things you have coming up?
Well, we just we have a Pure Stock. We've got the Pure Stock Nationals this weekend. Normally we run that special in September. During the WSOTA 100, so we normally will run classes that aren't with our sanctioning body that weekend. One of my other half's good friends is getting married, and I said, no, we're not racing this weekend. And so he's not real happy with me, but he did say, he's like, if we get any more rainouts, we have to add that back on. And I'm like, what classes are we gonna run?
Yeah.
Just so happens one of our neighboring tracks is has the touring. We have two different tours going on within our sanctioning body right now. And so kind of fell that the Street Stocks and the Midwest Mods are going to be down there this week. And so we took them off, and then they took Pure Stocks off. So we're actually going to run a 1,000 to win Pure Stock special. And we've opened it up. We sanction our own Pure Stocks. We don't sink it, but we're actually going to open it up and let the WSOTA Pure Stocks come if they want to come. And then all the other surrounding areas, they're bombers or Pure Stocks. If we actually opened it up so they can come race with our guys and girls, because they at the end of the day, we're all kind of pretty comparable.
Yeah.
In a lot of aspects, like the IMCA hobby stocks, they got a little bit more horsepower, but they can't run on a Hoosier tire. They got to run on a street tire.
Yeah.
Whereas our drivers can run on a used Hoosier tire.
Okay.
So
it balances out.
It does. And then so I think we'll do okay there. We're gonna do 100 to start. We threw some more money towards the bottom.
Yeah.
Just to kind of compensate for the extra fuel prices.
Right.
And then we'll run the Mid-Coda Lightning Sprints. This will be the first time they're here this year. And then our trophy class, which is a run what you brung, so it doesn't matter what you have. You can come race it for a trophy. There's no pay on that one.
Yeah.
And that's been a big hit because every week we get somebody different coming in, and it's a good way to, if they make an adjustment to their car and they just want to try it out, or if there's a little rivalry going on, a couple drivers will come just to settle a rivalry, or just them rookie drivers that want to get some experience under their belt.
Yeah.
So sometimes I have 6 cars, sometimes I have 2, and one time I had 1, and We just
Yeah.
let the one take a couple courtesy laps. And there's nobody to race with. I'm not going to let you.
Right.
We're not going to waste the fans' time with that. But they pay to get in, so we might as
Yeah.
well let them get a few laps under their belt. If they're a newer driver or haven't been in
Right.
the car for a bit. And then the following week, we actually have the Rebel Midwest Mod Tour and the Steffa Street Stock Tour. And that's going to be a really big deal. I just looking the last couple weeks what other tracks have had for car counts. I think we're going to have a phenomenal car count for that. And then we go back the next week and we have our NLRA Golden Hammer.
Okay.
And so that's a 2,000 win late model show. And then we take the 4th off. We take the 4th of July weekend off. Devil's Lake is a huge lake town. Huge lake.
Okay.
We have world-class fishing. Devil's Lake is known for their fishing, their hunting and fishing. And so getting that crowd off the lake that weekend, it's just not happening. So rather than go backwards financially that weekend, we just take that weekend off. And sometimes we go back to my other half's home area and go race. Or last year we went with the wingless sprint and we raced, and it did not turn out good. We ended up coming back home and sitting by the lake, and the other half was icing things, and he wasn't up. For a while there, I was wondering if he was a little concussed, but turns out that
but sometimes
you can be it'll act like you're concussed. So
right,
that's an important lesson there.
And sometimes though you just need a little break, don't you? I mean, you take a weekend off and then you're ready to go back. More so, I think sometimes if you race week after week after week, and sometimes it gets frustrating in that. And if you can get a week off once in a while, I don't think that's a bad thing at all.
No, and we usually take Memorial Day off because of graduation and people are opening up their lake cabins, and the 4th off. But because we had 5 weeks where we just were not getting a race in just because of the weather, we actually added Labor Day back into the schedule.
Okay.
I have a brand new crew in a lot of departments this year. And I just thought, we need to get them an experience. The counts are going to be light. The fan count's going to be light. But we need practice and kind of figure out how everybody operates. And then before last weekend, which is Devil's Run. And Devil's Run is usually chaos at our racetrack. It's usually the biggest race of the year. But I think fuel prices hampered that a little bit. I didn't see as many cars for the car show as normal. I never did hear. Somebody said the park was full, and then somebody said that the parade was shorter than normal. But I didn't get into town to really get an evaluation.
Well, and I think tires are an issue. I mean, if they are, at least they are here in the Midwest, in Michigan. Tires are an issue. Gas is an issue. So there are less people going, not only driving, but going to the races. There's just less people doing things because of that.
Yeah. And, we've tried to be proactive with the Hoosier tire situation, but they will only give us and our trackside distributor so many tires. They've really clamped down on that. And, I can't do anything about it, unfortunately. And, we recognize that we have a problem in that situation. And so we're gonna try and maybe keep the track try and get the track to the point where it's not burning up tires quite so much.
Yeah.
Just so they can keep reusing them.
Right.
And thankfully, I don't know what it is about our particular track. We don't burn the tires up like a lot of other tracks do. And the only thing that I can really think of is, we don't try to run a heavy track. We try to just make lanes. and leave like
Yeah.
the middle kind of slicked off, because you do have those guys that don't care and they're really good at driving the slick, and then you have those guys that are really good at driving the tack. So we kind of try to leave a multi-lane track
Mm-hmm.
to make it side by side racing. But I think a lot more tracks are going to have to start putting a little bit more moisture into their tracks, not
Yeah.
pounding it in quite so hard so the moisture can get into there. Because I don't know about other areas of the dirt world, or different areas, but I know in my home area, once the sun comes down, all the moisture that's in the track will come back up to the surface.
Yeah.
And that really helps keep the track in good shape throughout the night. Doesn't
Yeah.
always work out. The track is always a different situation every week.
Mm-hmm.
The sun comes into play, the humidity comes into play, the wind comes into play, and in
Yeah.
North Dakota, it's always windy.
Yes. Yes. So that's kind of a good thing though, because you never know when you get to the track what it's going to be like. So now we're talking about, um, drivers who compensate for those things, and the ones who can compensate the best are the ones at the front that end up winning.
Right.
Yeah.
They know that if we get rain, it's just going to be hammered down.
Yeah.
We're
So Heather,
huh?
go ahead.
We are kind of one of those tracks that we can get an inch of rain, and sometimes we can dry it out when we can go.
Oh
And
yeah.
so we've kind of got we're kind of a sandy clay,
Okay.
lake
Yeah.
bottom kind of a situation. So
Right.
if we can run, we're gonna run. But we
Yeah.
had a year where we had like 7 rainouts in a row.
Mm. There was that in Kalamazoo here a few years ago. I think they had almost as many rainouts as they did races, and it was really really
It's
sad.
it's frustrating. I remember we were looking at night 8 of another rainout, and I remember we were sitting in the bar, and I kind of had to have a pep talk with the track crew,
Yeah.
Nolan, and my other half, and his dad, the owners, and I had to say, like, no, we got to get ready here. We need to have a race, and they
Right.
went out and they dried it out, and we raced that night. So
Yeah. Yeah. So Heather, why don't you share with my listeners how they can follow you? So if they're headed through North Dakota or they live out in your direction and they haven't been to your track, how do they find your schedule? Are you on Facebook? Where's the best your website? Let us know how to follow you guys.
we actually have 2 Facebook pages. We have Devil's Lake Speedway, and then we have Devil's Lake Speedway Bar and Grill.
Okay.
And our bar and grill is open Thursday, Friday, and Saturday year round.
Okay.
And, yep, and we have been told that we have the best steaks around.
Okay,
And
awesome.
the best burgers. So, and then if you want to go to Twitter, it's I think it's Race Devil's Lake. And then the easiest way to find our schedule and to buy tickets online is devilslakespeedway.myracepass.com or dlspeedway.com is our website. We have 2 websites.
Okay.
And then we're also on Instagram too.
Okay, awesome. So lots of ways you can follow Devil's Lake Speedway. Heather and Nolan are working hard out there trying to provide a great entertainment venue for racers in North Dakota. And, I love that you're passionate about it. That's what I see in your face and I hear in your voice when we're talking, that, you do what you need to do, whether it's convenient or whether it's easy. But you want to put those races on so that those drivers have a place to go and a place to race. And it sounds like you have some fun events coming up, and the Golden Hammer, I think that's awesome. I love the name of that. So I hope you have no rain the rest of the weekends. It can rain during the week, right? But not on the weekends.
It can rain after the crop's in. Just
Okay.
not a lot to wash it out or drown
Right.
it out.
Exactly. So,
But we've
you
had
know,
a
we're
lot of moisture, so we could go a while without any moisture, and we'll
yeah,
all be
we
a
could
little content. A shower here and there.
exactly. That's what we're looking for. So, well, Heather, I've really enjoyed learning more about Devil's Lake Speedway and more about you and your track. And hopefully, we get some new fans to come out and check it out. And if not for the racing, for the bar and grill, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, sounds like a fun place to go have dinner on the weekends for sure. So, well, I don't have any more questions for you. Did you have anything else that you wanted to share that I didn't ask you about?
No, come on out for a good time, I guess. And thanks for having me. This is a huge honor to be asked to be on your show.
Oh, no problem. I love hearing about these small racetracks and what they do for their drivers, and that's what keeps racing alive is the little tracks all across the country. And so I appreciate what you guys do and that you're keeping racing alive for sure.
Awesome.
All right. Thank you, Heather.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Racing Girls Rock podcast, brought to you by the Women's Motorsports Network.